Jennifer, I met her originally because she came to a talk that we actually gave in person. It was one of the FDN lecture packages, so I didn't reinvent the wheel. Even better, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong on this, you were one of the people that came because a friend invited you, right? You didn't even get the direct ad, or am I incorrect?
I got the direct ad, but I came for a friend. It was like,
Okay.
I saw like your acne part of the ad.
Yeah.
She was having some skin issues and we came for her, not for me. Yeah.
Okay, so amazing. So you end up coming to support a friend. Jennifer ends up working with my wife and I on the practitioner side of things, ends up having an amazing experience, becomes an FDN, actually finishes the course, graduates, takes on clients, and is now on the podcast. They're going to think I scripted this one because this is about as much as you could ask for in terms of just saying, hey, the system works if you work it. So I will read your formal bio here, and then we will get into the details of this story because this is awesome. So, Jen Hill specializes in using food sensitivity testing to create personalized eating plans that support overall health and wellness. After experiencing the transformative power of dietary changes firsthand, she developed a passion for helping others achieve the same. With her expertise, she's making a substantial impact on the lives of her clients, and you do a bunch of other really cool stuff. Maybe we'll talk about that today, maybe we won't, but officially, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so I think I'd like to start with a slightly modified version of the first question that I always ask, because it's normally what did your health symptoms look like and when did they begin? But we can go there, but at the same time, I know that you were in a position, if I remember correctly from our original phone call, you were not necessarily, I don't think you understood maybe how much better you could feel. Is that a fair way to word it?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
I knew I had an underlying suspicion I could feel better. It was the regular middle-aged woman. Oh, I wanted to lose weight. Yeah, I've been tired my whole life. But I wasn't actively searching out a solution for it at the time. I had a friend that wanted some solutions to some skin issues. We looked at it as, oh, we'll listen to someone talk about functional health. We're both interested in learning. So we're like, oh, this will be a fun night out. Let's go learn something and get out for a couple hours, have other people watch our kids.
Yes.
So that was, it really was nothing more than that. And it turned into my life's passion at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. You got more than you bargained for in a good way. So that's cool.
I did.
But that's what I wanted to ask this, or why I wanted to ask this differently, because that is a little strange compared to most FDN stories, right? They might have like multiple diagnoses and all this stuff. And I apologize because I can't remember this now. This is over 2 years ago at this point. So when you got on the call, though, you didn't know how much better you could feel really until after the work started. But what did prompt you then to get on the call? What was said, if you remember, even generally at the talk that made you say, oh, maybe I can do something about this thing that I don't think is a huge deal, but maybe I should do something about?
I remember you talking about people making diet changes and having some pretty dramatic shifts in weight and shifts in energy based on the changes they made in their diet. And that definitely hooked me. I was interested in some of the other lab tests. I love that idea that there's a lab test and there's something that's going to come back that's personalized to you. Everything else I'd ever heard of related to eating changes. I don't love the word diet, even though I use it. All the eating changes that we hear about is everyone should cut this out. No one should do this. So the idea that it was going to be specific to me drew me in to be like, okay, that made it sound a lot more interesting to me.
Okay. Well, and that's interesting because I tell people often, I wish more FDNs did this, assuming that they're trying to grow their businesses. Not every FDN is, that's fine. I wish they utilized the labs more in their marketing, because I always say if I lost everything tomorrow, the first thing I'd actually do is set up a talk. But the technical, real second thing that I would do that would get me results probably prior to the talk is I'd actually make a video going over some lab analysis and a client case study. Every time that I have done that in the 8 years that I've been an FDN, someone always reaches out. And I'm like, why does that happen? And I think it's exactly what you just said. Even though you weren't sitting there with 5 different diagnosed conditions or something, it's almost like those personality tests. Like 80% of people want to take them. You have to know what your type is in this thing after you hear it. I think we're inherently interested in ourselves, and that's not a bad thing. So when we show people a personality test or a lab test, it gives us this thing where we're like, I want to know, like, what does mine say? What can mine tell me about me? And you learned quite a few things there. So what were some of the things that you got on the initial food sensitivity test? Because for those listening, Jennifer, again, as you can tell, was a different client. So I did not recommend to her to do the full package with us initially. We started with what I call a jump start, which was just the metabolic typing and the MRT food sensitivity test. And you got, ironically, some of the best results I've ever seen from just the jump start. So what did you learn? And then what happened?
Yep. And I learned, I have to tell this story.
Sure.
Evan said to me during our initial talk, like, are you willing to give up gluten? I was like, oh, for real? And I looked at him and I said, if it comes back on the test, I will do it.
Mhm.
Interestingly, that's not how I do it with my clients now. But thankfully, I'm so grateful that the test came back with wheat being extremely high. Sugar was extremely high. Cow's milk was high. So all of the things that you would have wanted me to cut out, thankfully came back high. I believe I might have had trouble cutting them out if it wasn't shown high on the test. But thankfully they came back high. I cut them out. There was also like, I had some things that I've never eat. Like I don't eat jalapenos. I don't eat anything spicy. That was actually my highest rated sensitivity, which is not uncommon on the test. I always tell people expect some of the things that you eat all the time and love to come back high, and expect a couple things you never eat to come back high.
Mhm.
That's what the test looks like.
So when you removed it though, yeah, what started happening? Because I remember your changes were so noticeable, people in your life started asking what you were doing.
Yes. So the first, I will fully admit, and I tell all my clients this, the first 2 to 3 weeks were really difficult. I gave up sugar. I gave up all the gluten-y carbohydrates. And my diet was basically composed of bagels and pizza and spaghetti and macaroni and cheese. It was composed of all gluten. So to give that up, to give up sugar, I took out coffee. I was pretty miserable the first couple weeks. I wasn't eating a lot of foods. I probably wasn't actually eating enough, but I was in that detox mode where I just didn't feel good. I couldn't eat anything. My husband was begging me to quit and stop doing it. I'm like, I just need to give it like a full try. And then one day, I think it was probably in week 3, I looked at him at the end of the night and I said, wait, I didn't take a nap today. Backstory is I was a napper. I've been tired my whole life. As far back as high school, I've been always been tired all the time. I thought it was just me. My whole family napped a lot. And if I had a job or if I was out doing something, I didn't have to lay down on the ground and take a nap. But if I was home and just doing my work from home and I could take an hour nap after work, I would.
Mhm.
And this day, it was probably in week 3, I looked at him and said, I didn't take a nap today. I wasn't tired. And that was like my eyes went wide. Oh, maybe there's something here. As early as the first week, I was losing weight, but I was pretty miserable, so I didn't really care. But going into week 4, I kept dropping weight. But the real turning point was that my energy changed. The brain fog went away. I could sit at my desk and concentrate all day. I didn't need a nap after lunch or additional naps in the afternoon. And I always tell people that the weight loss was great. I lost about 30 pounds in 4 months.
Which is crazy.
Well, yeah, which I needed to lose weight, but I also wasn't on the extremely obese side where you
Yeah,
could be
that
like,
was inflammation because people
yes,
don't see you beforehand. Like, guys, yeah, that for you, I would never even, that number, if you told me that was your goal as a coach, I'd almost be like, that's probably not a healthy goal to set for.
yeah,
But when we're inflamed, we're holding stuff that we don't even realize. So there's a difference between just fat versus,
yeah,
okay, my body is holding onto water and it's inflamed and all this kind of stuff. I've seen many people have these weight loss experiences that seem dramatic or impossible. It's when your body's operating correctly. That's why it happens. I didn't mean to cut you off. I
no,
meant it as a positive thing because, yes, you did not have 30 pounds to lose. It's just that's what can happen with this stuff.
yeah, it was amazing. But I do tell clients like the weight loss was great. I'm happier. I feel better, but I don't think I would have really stuck with it just for weight loss. We convince ourselves like, oh, I could have a little bit of this or I could have some of that and still keep the weight off. I'm petrified of losing the energy that I have. And that's why I've kind of been able to stay the path. I do not want to go back to needing a nap every day or not being able to focus and concentrate. And I really feel like taking the gluten, some of those other things out of my diet is what did that for me and made those huge changes. People in my life looked at me and would just, not even the weight loss, they said my eyes looked clearer and my face looked just brighter. And so many people said, how do I get what you have? How do I get this thing that you just did? And I'd be like, oh, I can give you my FDN's name. And finally I said, wait, like my kids were like later in high school moving on to college. I have some time. Maybe I could do this for other people. Maybe I can be the one that helps you. And I had been listening to the podcast and I was like, maybe I'll look into taking the FDN course myself. It was it just changed my life so much. I couldn't wait to help other people.